like having community around you that can encourage you, that will shoot you a text, um, that can relate to what you're going through. I think that.
Welcome to the Hey Mama podcast. We're your hosts, Tessa and Shayna. We are sisters, mothers, and doulas and are passionate about living an intentional life and all things motherhood. This podcast exists to create community as we learn how to delight in motherhood together.
Join us weekly as we chat with women about anything and everything from non-toxic living to women's health to feeding our families and our favorite topic of all, birth. We are so glad you're here.
Please keep in mind the views of our guests may not necessarily reflect our own and vice versa.
This is not medical advice. We always encourage you to do your own research and make an informed decision. Let's get to it.
Hello, and welcome to the Hey Mama podcast. We are so happy you are here with us today, and we are super excited about our guest. We've been wanting to have her on. So before we jump into that, do you want to tell me about your week?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
I always say the exact same thing when we talk about this. No, but really, the sunshine has been so lovely. After coming off a little bit of rain, and it just felt so good. And River just goes, outside, walk, shoes. And we can't wait to put on our Crocs and get outside in the sunshine. And it's been so fun. We went on a little walk yesterday to go get smoothies. Yeah. She drank a lot of my smoothie that I didn't want her to have, but it's fine. And it was a really sweet time. She's so precious. Loves looking at the flowers. Flowers, mama, flowers. All of her flowers. She loves to see.
She's the sweetest.
She's such a little nugget. But how was your week? How you feeling, girl?
I'm feeling good. I am grateful for this week. I feel like I've been very peppy, as some of our friends will say. But I feel like good energy. I'm like awake. I'm excited. So I would say the little tidbit that I did this week, which was maybe to other mamas out there in your third trimester when you are trying to eat dates and you don't eat them. And you're trying to get in. I don't know if we kind of posted a little bit more about bee pollen.
Yes.
And just kind of the benefits of that. So this week, my way, because I just think dates are not good. They are so sweet for me. It's like, even in a smoothie, which is what I tell all my moms to do, like, even in a smoothie, it's still so hard.
It's just the consistency. Like, I think you have to like that really chewy. Yeah. And so sweet. Because I can't like eat them raw with like goat cheese.
No, I'm not. We're not like our guest, who I think does eat them raw. But we'll ask her about that. But no, I've been putting in, so I'm dissolving the bee pollen, and it's a very earthy, gritty taste. If you've never had bee pollen before, it's like almost like a little pebble that's like a soft pebble that you could like kind of crush in your hand. So dissolving it in water and putting that into my smoothies, and that is just like this perfect balance for me of like in the smoothie, because it covers the sweetness of the dates.
That's such a good point.
And then it's like, oh my God, I can drink this. Like,
probably tastes so good.
So good. And then Sage actually will eat that, like the bee pollen plain. He likes it, which I don't know how he likes it. But yeah, so I've just been mixing it in.
Yeah, bee pollen when you're pregnant is so incredible.
Yes.
So incredible. If you're pregnant, take some.
Just my little tip for anyone out there trying to hide it all in a smoothie. Well, we are just so happy you guys are here today and listening along with us. And we are so happy because we have Suey on, and Suey has been just a lifelong friend. I think we've known each other now for 15-ish years. More? Yeah, more than that. 18 years?
Crazy.
Yeah. Shayna was a wee little lamb when she met Suey. But it has been just so cool just to kind of be in motherhood with her and just learn from her and see just all the different things that she does. She is a total homemaker. She has 2 boys and recently relocated. So, Suey, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, we would love that.
Hi, you guys. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to talk to you guys tonight. So I was like thinking of so many things as you guys were doing your intro. Yeah, the dates and the bee pollen. I have so many stories. I didn't have great doulas I didn't have doulas as I was doing these things, and the dates were great, but I overdid it with the dates, and my blood sugar started getting a lot of whack. Like Yeah, you definitely need to have some people speaking into your life when you're doing some of these things. I just like to discover, so
You, so that's
that's me.
impressive that you actually went overboard.
Yeah, I think that
That seems unlikely.
while I was pregnant and postpartum, I went overboard. I love them so much. I'm the opposite of you, Tessa. I just love them. And I definitely went overboard. You can have too much of a good thing. Um, so
You can.
anyway, thanks for
Amen,
having me
girl.
on. So I'm Suey, like the lady said, I'm mom of two boys. My older is 3.5, and then my baby just turned 1 year old. Um, and they
Oh
keep
my
me
gosh.
super, super busy on my toes constantly. Um, my husband and I have been married for 10 years and we are aspiring homesteaders. Currently, we are working on our gardening skills and just expanding that out in as many places of our yard as we can get to. And we just recently, I don't know if I told you guys this, we just recently purchased our first breeding stock of rabbit. So that's
Oh,
going to be
Oh
fun.
my gosh.
Yeah. So we'll
Yes.
let you
so
know how that
wait, are
goes.
they gonna be pets or meat?
Oh no, meat rabbit.
You guys are amazing.
You guys are
So, you
incredible.
know,
Oh,
unfortunately, where we live, the HOA doesn't allow us to have chickens. And so we're like, well, we
oh.
can have rabbits. So, yeah, I know, no chickens. And we're like so lame. So, yeah, so we got rabbits. So we're going down that rabbit hole. So, yeah, we'll let you know how that goes. I couldn't
That
help
was
myself.
very
I'm so
good.
sorry. That was awful. Um, and yeah,
Everyone
like you
needed
said
it.
too, we just relocated. We just relocated away from California, where I've spent my whole entire life, and Josh had been for almost the last 20 years. And yeah, we're up in
Mm.
Idaho now, and we love it. It's different. There are seasons here. It's been cold, it's been snowy, rainy, all the things. Although I know, like, as soon as we move away from California, like, they have the best winter that they've had in like probably decades, right, you guys? Like, so much rain.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
so
Yep.
Yes.
yeah, that's a little bit about us.
So good.
Well, we are so excited you're on. Thank you for sharing, you little rabbit breeders. That is amazing. But you are a homemaker and a superwoman, and we're so excited to have you on. We're always so inspired by you. You are truly amazing. And we thought you'd be such an encouragement to other mamas out there who are maybe trying to make some lifestyle choices or swaps for themselves and their families. And can you tell us a little bit about your lifestyle swaps and kind of the things you've implemented into your family life?
Yeah, yeah, totally. So, I think the very first thing that we started with would have been our laundry and cleaners. Um, when my older son was about 6 months old, he had really, really bad eczema. And I was very frustrated with his pediatrician because I was not getting any answers as to why this was happening. My perfect little baby, that I just brought home and all this kind of thing, like what was going on. And I had like a few little background voices at that time kind of telling me, there are some changes that you might need to make in your home. Like you might be having reactions to, what you're cleaning his clothes with and all this kind of thing. So I kind of went, and this was actually too, like right at the beginning of COVID. So it was like a pretty anxiety filled time for us. Our business was closed down. So I went into like this hyper focused, really deep dive of just like cleaning out my home. I didn't take it
Mm.
step by step like a lot of people would advise others to do. I just like went around my home with literally with a box and just was like putting anything that said fragrance on it or things with bleach or all these different chemicals. I went through our garage and went through any like weed killers and like small pesticides that we had and that kind of thing. And I got rid of all of it because I was really frustrated with my son's eczema. And it was right also when I was starting to introduce solids to him, and he seemed to just break out in hives for inconsistent reasons. I would say like he would be fine with a certain food at one time, and then the next time I gave it to him, he would break out in hives. And like 6 month old struggling with like a severe hive flare up was scary, and just so painful as a mom to like see my little one just like literally just in so much pain, and just like not really knowing what to do with that. And so I was online all the time. Like, guys, I spent so much money on every cream or lotion or, whatever it was that people said, was helping their kids, or what my, extended family or anybody said was helping their kids with their eczema. And he just wasn't getting better. So I made all those swaps in the laundry, and then I was like, okay, like what are my pediatrician had prescribed, of course, a steroid cream, and I had been like inconsistently using that on him.
Mhm.
And so I went into like, okay, this is inward. Like let's start looking at what's going on inside of his body, and how can I find out from my 6 month old where he's struggling, and why it's coming out on his skin. And so I got rid of the steroid cream. I started looking into different herbs and different supplements that were healthy for the skin, healthy for liver detoxification. And I think that's really when I kind of found um, my key for him in like healing his gut and helping his liver to detoxify. Because I was doing everything just like kind of how I was told to do it, as far as CDC protocols and all that kind of thing. So um, I also halted his
Mhm.
doctor's visit. I literally, I took him to the doctor the last time I went to her. She gave me the steroid cream. I went home with that, and then we didn't go back to the doctor for a long, long time. And he started getting better when I stopped taking him. And I would,
Mhm.
yeah, so any of my over the counter stuff, that was some other swaps that we made. I got rid of anything that was, NyQuil, Dayquil, Benadryl, all this kind of stuff, and replaced it with a lot of herbal tinctures. One company that I really like, if I could give them a shout out, is Earthly Wellness, I think they're called. But they just have so many things for so many
Mhm.
different ailments and things like that. A lot of baby safe things, a lot of pregnancy and postpartum things for mama. And yeah, I replaced a ton of things with a lot of things from Earthly. That was also when I discovered the Weston A. Price Foundation and started giving him liver, and went to the farmer's market that was open at the time, and got pasture raised chicken livers. And my family thought I was so weird, but I didn't care. And I would just like fry that up with a little bit of butter. I had no idea, and it did not taste very good. Uh, but I started giving that to him, and little by little, he just started getting better. And so I think that was like my starting point to just like start, okay, really questioning everything, really. And that's like who I am today. Like people will say something, I'm like,
Yeah.
but why? Like, what's the history behind that? Or like, what actual like political agenda is behind this new policy in, you name it, whatever realm, food, hospital, school, anything like that.
Mhm.
So that was like some few little trails there, but that was really like my starting point into like making those swaps and getting rid of and just cleaning out um, home.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's wild to see like how our kids can bring those things out of us. Like who knows how long it would have been before you started making those more intentional swaps. Not to say you would have never, but because he was suffering in that mama bear, like that instinct, that intuition, like there's something deeper, there's something more. And that's so beautiful that that was your starting point of like, not only for our family, not only for myself or my husband, but for our son. Like that's the core of what we're doing this for. And that's so wonderful. Yeah, you're such an investigator and a researcher, and that's so important. Those are the skills we need to have in order to build a lifestyle, right? That is free from what society would tell us would be like the norms or how everyone else is living, you know, going against that norm, which is hard to do. So I think that's so wonderful. So that was kind of your starting point. And what does it look like now? Like what were different things you did? And because of James, you got here, and now 3.5 years later, here you guys, or 3 years later, here you guys
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just I mean, since that point, we really were like, okay, like we want to grow our own food. Like we want to, and now it's great because my husband is very into like the agricultural aspect of it. So, just looking at things like he finds things out all the time. He was like, did you know something about like, oh, tomatoes like that are grown in Mexico, like it doesn't matter if it says organic or not because they're not grown in soil or something like that, and they're just grown in like these massive like high tunnels. And so it's fine, like they're not sap, but nutritional, 'cause they're not in soil. Not no
What?
nutritional value. I'm sure there might be something. But anyway, so he like brings certain things like that. So now we're like we
Oh, yeah.
totally like tag team and we're just like um something else. Yeah. Anyway, so he finds things out for me like all the time, and then I'll research something about or hear
Oh
something
gosh.
from another homesteader about fermenting or preserving. And so we're just like that's kind of where we're at today, like eating our um we ate pretty well, I want to say, before, but there are certain um ingredients or things that we've incorporated more of, like definitely a lot of fermented foods, a lot of vinegars, not as many sugars, like period at all, even like, coconut and maple, just like limiting our sugar intake so that we can take care of our glucose levels and things like that. And the gardening is a big one for us now because we're like, okay, what can we grow in the garden this year that we won't have to buy all year because we grew it? So just being more self-efficient, like we don't really like to say like self-sustainable because we don't want to like isolate ourselves, like we don't want to pretend like we have our own island or anything like that, but we would like to have as little reliance um, on systems as possible, or just like have those skills if if needed, right? And then we're also just like super budget conscious people, and doing your own composting and growing your own food and all this kind of stuff can really, especially to with today's prices at the grocery store, can really save you in the long run if you're growing your own food. So that's something that I think we're super passionate about, and our family is getting passionate about. Our older son, James, he just loves to go out in the garden with his dad and be out there in the dirt. And he has like done a lot of starts for us and is like excited to watch them grow. So just like having that connection, I think, to our food, and just passing that knowledge on to our kids that like um you're we're perfectly capable of doing this ourselves. And even if you live in an apartment or you're living downtown with just concrete in your backyard, you can have a small box of herbs and things like that, just to give yourself that connection outside of the grocery store to your food.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's so neat.
It's so cool too, because just even living that way, right? Because I was just listening to a podcast on the way over here, um, just a little bit more about that sensory processing, right? And a lot of the encouragement that like these OTs are giving. It's a shout out to Taylor Kulik. She had on another OT. And if you don't know Taylor Kulik, but she has a lot of just kind of like sleep help, and she's an
Holistic
OT
sleep.
herself. But yeah, just more that biological sleep patterns, and goes into that. So, but she had on this OT, and it was just cool because a lot of all her suggestions were basically like giving the idea that like our toys nowadays are playing for our children, right? They are meant to entertain, they are meant to babysit, they are meant to watch. And so she was like, even just taking an example of a stuffed dog and like a stuffed animal to an electric dog who, when you push it, it starts to move on its own and then it barks for itself, right? So she's just like, just looking at the simplicity in that of just like when he has the stuffed animal, he has to make it move, decide where they're going to go on the adventure, make the sound, move the legs, have it fly, jump, roll, whatever. Right. But then it's just like, and then a lot of her suggestions for that sensory input for just that appropriate
Mhm.
biological developmental sensory input at these ages was like, yeah, go take them outside and go
Mm-hmm.
have them put their hands in
Mhm.
the dirt.
Mhm.
Right. So when you start to return back to like how life was literally even 50 years ago, not even like even just our parents growing up and what they did and what P looked like for them and what
Mm-hmm.
just life looked like on the weekends for them, just things like that. It was just so cool because it's like, yeah, when you start to return to like more the basics, it's like our bodies are connected to the earth and then we start to ground and we start to
Mhm.
regulate and you get what you actually need when you're going back to like that original, like this is how life was supposed to be before we put an iPad in our 1.5-year-old's face. And again, it's like, yes, there's benefits of like technology and all this stuff, but it's
Right.
just so sad that it's like, yeah, we have to like relearn
Yeah.
how to like have our kids play because of
Yeah.
that. It's just been
Yeah.
so distant, like so much is in between like our child now and that play and like having that relationship. So I just think it's
Yeah.
so cool because yeah, he gets to
Mhm.
be a part of that with
Mhm.
his dad. He gets to share these
Mhm.
memories. He gets to put his hands in the dirt. He's
Mhm.
working on his sensory processing.
Yeah.
He's getting dirty. He's realizing he can clean himself up. He's learning
Mhm.
his a skill. It's
Yeah.
just like,
And it's bringing that, exactly what you were saying, that relationship to his food, which
mm-hmm,
a lot of us don't, some of us don't have the ability to right now. And one day we
Yeah.
can, but just that idea of like, a good relationship with food then forms good habits, right? Not even habits, just helps you have a healthy, like, food is nourishment, food is beautiful, food is good for
Mhm.
us.
Oh, I
And
love
that's
that.
so cool that your 3-year-old knows that your 1-year-old, he knows that too. I'm sure he's digging in that dirt and having the time of his life, and that you guys are just creating a space and yeah, oh, I'm sure. And just fostering that place where they're able to know that this is where food comes from. It doesn't come from a supermarket already
Mhm.
washed and cut
Yeah.
and prepped for us. It comes from the earth, and we are tending to that earth. And yeah, that's so
yeah,
beautiful.
He knows, like, I mean, when I make sauerkraut, I'm like, come on, bud, like, get up here and like pound this,
That is so
cabbage for
cute.
me and all that kind of stuff. And then he knows. So he'll be eating it later on. He's like, Mom, did I help you make this sauerkraut? And I'm like, yeah, like, and we talk about how it started. Like, he'll even ask, like, but where did it come from? But where? And so we go back and we go back and we go back. And if we got it from the store, which those cabbages we did get from the store, well, where did the store get it from? And then we talk about farmers and all this kind of stuff. So it's just so cool to like, he's already like making these connections. And I remember we were talking about milk one time, and at the end of it, like us going back and going back and tracing where it's from, he was like, Mom, we need to get a cow. I was like, yes, we do.
Okay, we have more fun things to get to and more questions to ask you. But before we keep going, I just wanted to ask, I know you talked about like laundry detergent and kind of eliminating those fragrances or perfumes in your home. But what are like 2 more swaps that someone listening could be like, okay, like I can do that, or this is easy, this is something I have in my house and I can actually change it for this? What would be a few things you recommend of maybe little things that you can swap around the house, household items, or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, so I'll talk about this one because it's on the forefront of my mind right now because we have a little bug going around our house right now. So I kind of mentioned before we could just got rid of all of our over-the-counter medications and things like that, and replace them with a lot of stuff from Earthly, and then just having different essential oils on hand, peppermint and tea tree and lavender for, soothing, you know, sore throats to upset tummies and even fevers and things like that. And honestly, um, for a fever, I mean, we normally just try to like just support the body and let that fever run its course. But if it's getting, uncomfortably high and you're just worried, especially with the little babies, it's just very, very, it can be very scary. But wetting a rag and then, or getting a bowl together and just adding like a tablespoon or two of apple cider vinegar with cool water and then wetting a rag in that and just, patting that wherever your baby will let you, on their temple or forehead or on their neck or anything like that brings the fever down like pretty quickly. It's not gonna, always stay down, like the fever still has to run its course, but just to keep it from getting uncomfortably high. So really, in that area, what I always have on hand for adults and for the kids is vitamin C and zinc. And for adults, whenever we start feeling sick, we take 6,000 milligrams a day of vitamin C and then support with zinc, which are just two huge immune boosters and really help my family anyway kick their colds very fast. Obviously, the dosage is lower for kids with their vitamin C. So, talk to your pediatrician or whoever you talk to about, dosages for your kiddos. But those always seem to, when I'm like really consistent with those, when my family is sick, we can get rid of our, bug, whatever it is, pretty quickly. So those are a couple of things I think like the vitamin C and the zinc for any ailment. And then cleaners is a big one. Like we got rid of, it's so funny because in the store there's like a cleaner for everything in your home. And it can be so expensive. And really, all you need is like a dish towel and like some soap and then a dry towel, for cleaning your toilets, cleaning the vanity, cleaning, all this, the floors, whatever. So, two things in that area as far as like cleaning my home goes, I always buy um at Sam's Club and Costco, oftentimes will have like the huge gallons of just white vinegar, distilled white vinegar. And so I always have like a gallon or two of white vinegar. And then whenever I can get a bunch of oranges, I'll save orange peels up for a little while and I will basically like distill the orange peel with the vinegar and just it's just infusing for that fresh scent and all that kind of stuff. And then I have cleaner and I'd even dilute that when I put it in my spray bottle. And I use that for everything. Um, and then, if there's something difficult, I'll just put dish soap and, scrub it. Somebody asked me a little while ago, well, how do you disinfect? And I'm like, well, I don't really disinfect, I just wash. Like I kind of thought of that whole topic, during COVID is like, well, is hand sanitizer the way or is washing your hands the way? And it's like, well, wash your hands, obviously.
Right.
So that's kind of like the approach that I take as far as like cleaning my home is I'd much rather use soap and water than a Clorox wipe. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and then Norwex makes amazing products for cleaning the house, and you don't have to use anything at all with those. So if that's something that's in your budget, Norwex cloths have been like amazing for us. I just love them.
Awesome.
Cool. I've never heard of those.
I haven't either. I was gonna say Norwix. Okay, we're gonna have to get you to send it to us
Oh,
so we can link it.
Yeah.
oh,
And the
yeah, we need to talk.
distilled the orange peels with
We need to talk, girl. We gotta get on the Norwix train.
You do.
But I was just gonna say that's what I use for cleaner is Tessa will give me a bunch of oranges, I juice them, I put all those peels in a big mason jar, cover it with distilled white vinegar, and it really like cleans the best. If there's like a hard job on my stove, I just let it sit there for a little bit and wipe it off. But like my mirrors have never looked cleaner, my windows, I'm like, this is great. And it's so cost effective. For hard jobs, I also like to use Dr. Bronner's or Brunner's.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
And I just put like a few drops of that in like some hot water, and that's how I clean my floors. But it's amazing, and way more affordable than buying all these different sprays for all the different parts in your house. That everything will be cleaned with the same thing. Well, thank you for sharing those swaps. Those are really good, helpful tips.
Those are perfect. Those are perfect. Well, our next question for you would just be kind of because you're someone who is juggling a lot of kind of just different hats and you are kind of doing like obviously a homeschoolish route for pre-K with James and you're teaching him everything and you're making your own food and you're planning your own food out and you're doing a garden, you're raising chickens and you have a husband and you cook your meals and you moved outside of your community, right? Where your friends and your family were. So you guys are doing this kind of alone at this point. I do know you have someone there from your husband's family. I don't know how close they're able to like help you guys, but you know, you're kind of in a very like specific season, right? And so how are you able to kind of like plan out your days? Because I think that's a lot of the time the not I lack of a better word excuse, but the obstacle maybe that a lot of moms might find is like I don't literally have the time the day to like make a meal from scratch or make spaghetti sauce from scratch. So I'm just going to buy this. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, I'm going to just do a frozen meal because whatever, it doesn't really matter. So, and again, like to each their own. And when you decide to do things your own way, like it's for you and your family. Right. So what's so cool is that we all get to do life differently. But for you specifically, you are making, I would think, 99% of your meals in your kitchen. So how does that really look when you have two littles? Your husband's gone working, you're in a new place, and you're just doing this all by hand. How do you like manage a day in that?
One day at a time. And I mean, we're blessed in our situation, right? That I don't have to be outside of the home to work or anything like that. So, and there are a lot of moms who do, you know, a lot of these things and are,
Mm-hmm.
you know, still working a 9 to 5, which like kudos. I have no idea how they do those things, but they're really super women. But a couple of things that have just really helped me is that I try to include the kids as much as I can in the things that we're doing because again, going back to like these sensory activities, James just my 3.5-year-old, he just loves to be in the kitchen and is always asking, you know, if I'm making bread or sauerkraut or soaking beans or whatever it is, like I'll even if you know I have like a whole bunch of dried beans out and I'm about to put them into soak or whatever like that. I'll just give him a spoon and just play around with the beans or whatever. Now my 1-year-old, he's a different story because he's like always hanging on my leg. And so I'm like just waiting for the time that he can stand up on our little tower and, you know, work next to his brother because half the time like
Yes.
he's on my back or playing in the dishwasher, which Dad really doesn't like. Um, but we got to do what we got to do. So I try to include the kids. I try to include them just as much as possible so that that's like their activity. You know, I don't have to entertain them with something else because they're in the kitchen doing the same thing as I'm doing. And it's the same, you know, if we're out in the garden, it's a family activity. And I think, you know, the more we do these things together, um, you know, I'm just hoping that I can like instill these choices that we're making and show them the benefits of making these choices for themselves. Because sometimes, you know, I have like a little mom freak out moment, and I'm like, what if they don't want to eat fermented things when they grow up? Like, or you know, what all these different, you know, because they're gonna make their own choices about what they want to eat. Like, what if they end up loving candy? So I'm like, just have to like you know, put those things aside and just include them with what we're doing and try to let them, you know, let them in on the knowledge that we have so that hopefully one day, um, they will make the link between their body's health and their food. Um, Another thing that I do, and I've actually gotten a little bit out of this practice, but I need to start again is just planning my tasks out a week at a time. So on Sunday night, I would have like a binder next to my bed, and I would just sit there and I'm like, okay, like what do I have to prep this week? What do I want to make and try to making a dinner menu has also really helped me so that I know what needs to be prepared when. So it's like, okay, like, you know, on Tuesday morning, we're gone for most of the morning until 12 o'clock. So all I really have time for is to like feed my starter before we leave in the morning. And then by the time I get back, I should be able to, put a sourdough together, or this day we're gone all day, so I'm going to put beans in a pot to soak, and then the next day even I'm going to go back to those and put them in my instant pot and cook them. So little things like that, literally like Monday through Friday, just putting a few tasks at a time, and then being okay with it if I didn't get to all of them when Friday rolls around. Because Saturday is like family day, and then Sunday is day of rest, and our bodies, all need those things. So, yeah, just being okay with bumping it to the next week, or just, starting over again if I don't get to all those things, and just being, giving, grace for myself and my home.
Awesome. I would say that's perfect, just because it includes, like, and that's probably what our moms would have said too. Like, well, you guys just did life with us, like you were a part of it. You were in the kitchen with us. You were at our feet. You were stacking cans. And the other day you put on your story, Elijah just stacking cans and pulling cans down, and I'm like, that's literally Sage all the time. I know that's River all the time. It's like, yep, okay, good, nice. Oh, you're stacking so nicely. I love how you're rolling it across the floor. Oh, it broke. Okay, right? And it's just like almost narrating their world of like, this is what he's doing. There's nothing wrong in it. In your, controlling brain, it might bother you that he's just ripped everything out. But he entertained himself. He felt weight and like difference in texture and heaviness, right? And these different things just while you were cooking. And it's like, yeah, you didn't have him in the other room away from you, maybe watching a show or doing something else. You had him right there with you. So I think that's really just a really cool key of like, yeah, they come along with you and they're part of it and they learn from you. So
yeah,
so neat.
And that's granted, there are times too when it's like, okay, I need 5 minutes in the kitchen by myself, and I'm gonna go turn on little, give a mouse cookie or whatever the show is that James likes. And then I have one on my back and one, watching the television and all that kind of stuff. And sometimes like it's, if it's not every day, if it's every once in a while, there's no guilt. And, and Josh, my husband, he like really doesn't like James to watch any TV, but I just go, well, sorry, like that's what we needed today, So, and there are, especially I've found like living here where the weather is like not conducive to outside play every day. Like, when we lived in South or Southern California, like there would be days when it would be really hard to spend even half an hour outside because it's just really cold. And so, in motherhood, there's just so many different seasons of life and so many different it seems like once you get one rhythm down and things are going really well and you have just such a good system, like something's going to happen and that rhythm is going to switch. But it's just like, how can you, roll with that? How can you give yourself a little bit of grace in those situations? And for me, sometimes that's like turning on the TV while I'm making dinner.
Yeah, and that's important because there has to be balance in everything, right? Like, yeah, there are low stimulation shows you can put on or whatever you want to put on for your child. That's your own decision. And I think that because sometimes I know for me, like I'll look at these like homesteaders or like I'll watch YouTube videos. I'm like, how do these moms of 7 children who are home, like, how do they do it? How? Because I know for myself, I have one and I'm like, sometimes I just want to be able to make dinner in 30 minutes versus an hour because she's crying and she needs a snack and then she's getting to the dishwasher and she's pulling out knives and, it's like dangerous. She can't be doing those things. So I think that balance is so important. And you're right. Of like, there's moments and there's times for everything. And sometimes you being able to make bread or finish something in peace is more important. So balance is key, mamas. And you have to do what fits into your family's rhythm and routine.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Thanks, girl. Well, Suey, as we wrap up, just kind of finishing off this episode, would you tell us, and I know this is a big question, so just in your words of the why behind this slow living, this fermentation, this intuitive eating, this seasonal eating, what is that why? and the reason for your family of why you guys are doing it.
Mm, that is a loaded question. Um, I think it's just you can really be more attuned to the true needs of your family when things are slow, when things are quiet, when there's a process, even just like the process of making kimchi or whatever, like having that patience and giving yourself um time and allowing yourself to be present with your kids and with your husband to just like listen to what their needs are. And kids will tell us like um I just think of, for instance, like, oh my gosh, my kid is throwing a tantrum. Like, why are they doing it? I don't understand. There's no reason for it. But then thinking back, like, did they have breakfast? Or did I just, give them a piece of fruit? Or, did they have, is this like a blood sugar spike? Paying attention to um these signals that our kids are giving us. And the same will go with your husband. Like, I don't know what it is, but we always have a fight when I don't eat my salad. Like, because I don't know. Like, it's different for every household, and even for us as women, like listening to our own bodies. I will hear women, I don't know, especially at, I'll say my age, okay, not all of our age, at my age, having, hormonal issues and other things. And they're just like, I don't know, my body just hates me. And I'm like thinking about it sometimes. I'm like, no, no, your body
Mm.
doesn't hate you. Your body is trying to tell you something. And sometimes your body is like,
Mhm.
really, really trying to tell you something. And so things get loud, and your body is always communicating with you. And so just being able to like, I'm a big proponent of like not overbooking your schedule. Like, take time to do things. The things that you are doing, take time to do them well so that you can give all your attention and your focus to those things. And, I think um my kids anyway, like I can't speak for everyone's, but my kids anyway, somewhat of a schedule works well, but too much of a schedule is like, it just seems like there's no time. And we're always like, grumpy at the end of like a very busy time and all that kind of stuff. And so I would rather cultivate in my home just a rhythm of, you know, slowness, being present, taking time for things. And yeah, just like making that connection to your food, that when you take the time out to prepare these things, how our ancestors really, how they did things, um, it just gives us more of a connection um, to our food, to, our body's natural rhythms, and really like how the Lord created our systems, I believe, to work and to flourish. And if we can pay attention to those things, then I think we'll just live really healthy and fulfilled lives, because we'll be not only, happier in our own skin, happier with how our bodies are functioning, but, just able to um, shut out outside noise so that, yeah, we can just be present and attend to our families.
Mm,
Love it.
yeah.
Thank you for all that. That was beautifully said.
Mm-hmm.
And as you've shared so much encouragement and just words of wisdom and different, ways to do things. And thank you so much for all that. I think I'm gonna just switch the last little closer on you because I think it just might be more appropriate for when I listen to you, when we're listening to you, it's like you're a wonderful example of someone who's giving. Her whole life is kind of filled of like giving out and caring for a family, and it's like this beautiful picture. But we also can't do that when we are not fueled ourselves and things like that. So what would be and again, that's a mental, that's a spiritual, that's an actual physical fueling, right?
Mm-hmm.
um and we all, I know, agree with like that mind body relationship and that mind body balance and how that fuses together and affects us. But what is something that maybe you would give as a mama who is just in a place of maybe more burnout,
Mm.
in the sense of like she just doesn't have that time, or she's not putting anything in before she gives for, her whole day. So what would be something that maybe you do, or an encouragement for a mom that she could just start to do to kind of fill up herself a little bit?
Mm. Yeah, that's important. And I've definitely been there before where it seems like you're always constantly emptying out and emptying out. And um, yeah, we go through seasons where it's hard to be put, be filled back up, especially when we're in the thick of like multiple little ones or jobs or, whatever it is for any of those mamas out there, whatever it is for their lives. But man, I would just have to say something that even just since moving here would be just like having community around you that can encourage you, that will shoot you a text, um, that can relate to what you're going through. I think that was kind of a hard thing from back at home. I mean, I lived obviously close closer to family and friends that I had known for years and years and years, but not in my like direct community where I lived. And that was like a really hard thing for Josh and I not having just people that were in our same season of life, like close to us, that we could, just hop over to their house in an evening and be back. It was always like this big planning moment, even to go out and spend time with family and that kind of thing. And it's something that we dearly do miss since moving out here, and that's not an option. But since moving here, we have found good community and other families that are in our um, similar walk of life. And, we don't have to agree on every topic or anything like that. But I think, especially for moms, just carving out that time to be able to, get with other moms or, swap kids with another mom so that you can, have time to clean your house or sit down and finish a whole hot cup of coffee or, whatever it is. Just, I think a lot of times motherhood can be very isolating. And that's when burnout happens. And that's when, depression and anxiety and a lot of these things can happen, and just like really feeling overwhelmed with just daily tasks. And then, you listen to something like, fermenting your food, and you're like, there's no time in my day. There's like no brain space to be able to accomplish that. So if you just find,
Yep.
members in your community or, in mama groups that, yeah, I know you guys have started, and just being able to kind of rub elbows with other people who can encourage you in your journey or in your walk, whatever that looks like for you, I think is just so crucial, because it kind of, when you feel like you're drowning, it kind of like gives you that little breath, that you need to just continue on. And then, yeah, just be able to keep going and be able to love on your kids and your family better for it.
Mm, that's so good. Yep. Community is key. It's so important. And exactly, having someone that you can take to another person's house and you get a little of your to-do list checked off, and then you bring their kids back and they get a little bit checked off. It's like, we're not in this alone. And I think that's
Mhm.
beautiful that you guys, even relocating, you've been able to find your community, which is so incredible. And I'm so happy for you guys. And it makes such a difference for your kids, for you, for Josh, like your whole family unit. So that's amazing. That's so important.
Thank you. Thank you, Suey, so much just for
Thank you.
everything today, just
Yeah.
talking and giving us your time and setting it aside. But we loved every minute of it.
Yes, learned so much.
Oh, thanks. I love you guys. I miss you both,
Me
and I'm
too.
just so grateful to be here. And I just want to say I'm like,
We miss you.
my gosh, just knowing you guys for so long, I am just so proud of the community that you guys are building together. And this is just so, as soon as you guys told us that you were going to become doulas, we were like, oh, that's so perfect. Like, that is exactly what these two were called to do. And so, just like, so those mamas in your group are just so blessed to have you. And I'm just so thankful that you guys are able to share, um, your hearts and your passions, and just to encourage other moms.
Well, thank you.
Thank you for that encouragement. It means so much to us. And we love you and miss you. We can't wait to go to Idaho and see your rabbits. Thank you, Suey, and thank you for listening today. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Hey Mama. We're so thankful you decided to join us today, and we hope you go forward in your day feeling encouraged and seen.
Here are a few ways you can connect with our community and support the show. The first way is to share the show with a friend via text or Instagram. You can follow and leave a review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And finally, follow us on Instagram at 4MamaBirth.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next week for another episode.